So today, this afternoon,
Budaya.
I'd like to offer a practice that's not exactly what we've been doing. It's a practice that allows us to look at something that's been happening at a prior time in our day, a kind of a reflection back on what's been happening. So it's not simply settle back, notice what's arising. It's a practice of bringing something consciously to mind, but then noticing what's happening with that topic in mind. So this is I call this reflective practice, and I first learned a form of this practice um, years ago from Ajahn Amaro. He pointed to this, and it can be used in so many different ways. I've used it in so many different ways during my practice life. The way I'm going to offer it today is to um, bring in, have you bring in something that has been challenging for you in the last few days, something that you've noticed happening in your life that where perhaps you noticed you weren't able to be so mindful, or something happened and you wished something else had happened, like you had said something or done something that you wished you hadn't, you'd behaved a little bit unskillfully or something like that. So this practice can be used to let us reflect on things that have happened in daily life where things are going so quickly. I mentioned this morning. Sometimes in daily life, we do the best we can um, with our ethics and with our being as aware as we can. But often things are going so quickly in our daily lives, we don't really have the bandwidth. Our mindfulness doesn't have enough momentum yet to meet what's happening in the moment. And so this practice is one where um, you can bring up at another time in the day. So if something's happened during your day, you can bring up later in the day when you have some space, you have some bandwidth, you have some time you can carve out. You can sit down and bring in a topic, bring in something that has been um, that created some stress or suffering during your day, and then bring in the practice of being present with it, with those thoughts. So this is also a way to explore the practice of how content affects us, because what we're going to be doing is bringing content explicitly into our minds and then noticing how we are responding to it. So this kind of reflective practice isn't so much about thinking about the situation. That's not what this is about. It's more bringing the situation into mind and then noticing what is here with that thought, what is here with that memory that you've conjured in your mind. And so this kind of reflective practice can be really useful for daily life, because as things go quickly in daily life, we'll miss things. We'll miss ways perhaps that we could have responded more skillfully. We'll miss the kinds of reactivity that kind of launched us out of being present in the first place. And so this kind of practice lets us get a little bit more skill with meeting what happens in those fast moving times at a time when we have a little bit more bandwidth. And so this kind of practice of bringing in content and then looking at how we are in relationship with that content, as I said, it can be more generally useful. And I'll talk after we do a little practice piece with this. I'll talk about some other ways we can use this practice. But what we'll do here this afternoon is I'm going to ask you to participate in this kind of a reflection. So just right now, as you know, as we're kind of settling in, let yourself pick something that happened in the last, I don't know, couple of days where there was a little bit of a struggle. And I'll be quiet for a few moments just to let you maybe land or pick something. And at this point, this is just a simple choosing of a scenario. We're not going into it yet. We're not exploring it yet, but just land on some particular scenario that you're interested in learning something about how to meet that situation with mindfulness. All right. So you may or may not have come up with something. Hopefully, in the next couple minutes, as I keep talking, you'll find a topic. And we'll begin this by simply settling. We'll start. This is the way I encourage these reflective practices to begin, to just settle into a meditation as we usually settle into it, but useful to kind of know where you're going to go. So I find it helpful to encourage people to pick something before you go into a reflective practice period. But it's helpful to start by just letting the mind settle. So we'll begin with just a simple practice of noticing your body, your mind, just being with yourself. How are you in this moment? There may be a little bit of anticipation or wondering what this is going to be like. Just notice that if that's happening for you. And exploring the possibility of some relaxation. Maybe using those invitations for relaxation. May the body relax. And may the mind relax. And attuning to awareness. Are you aware? What's here in this moment? What's obvious? Just letting yourself receive. Be with yourself for a few minutes. And now I'd like to invite you to call to mind this situation, a situation where there was some struggle in the past few days or week or so. If there was more than one, let yourself just pick one, just land with one experience. And it doesn't have to be a major thing, it might even be just something really small. So let yourself call up the experience or the event, what happened for you. This is the reflection part. We're using our mind to remember what happened, recalling details of where you were, how you were situated, if other people were there, what you were saying or doing or hearing. Any moods or emotions that were happening. And as you allow this recollection to happen, see if you can also be curious about how it affects you now to be remembering this, how it affects your experience in the present moment. In particular, checking into your bodily experience and any moods or emotions that may be coming up in the present moment. At this point, you can stop with the trying to actively create the scenario and just kind of open to how you are having had that thought in your mind for a few minutes. What's your bodily experience now? What emotions and moods are happening right now? Can also be interesting and helpful to allow the awareness to become quite broad and see if you can also take in what does the whole mess of it feel like? Not specifics around particular reactions or thoughts or body sensations, but just can you touch into the whole feeling of it at the felt sense level? What does the whole thing feel like? See if you can bring some interest in this exploration as an opportunity for learning. Seeing if there can be a letting go of any resistance or judgment or evaluation of what you might think should be happening or shouldn't be happening. Just opening to what you are noticing, what's here with this recollection. It can be helpful from time to time to refresh the memory just for a few moments and then checking in again. How is this in the present moment? How is this being experienced? Touching into what is being experienced in the present moment. the moods, the emotions, the thoughts, the body sensations. There might be some curiosity about, is there something to learn from here? Can be helpful to check into the attitude towards what's happening in the present moment. If there can be a sense of touching into the broader experience, the whole mess of it, just the whole sense of the impact on your whole system. There's a way to touch into that and be okay with whatever that feeling, chaotic, crazy, jumpy, confusing, vague, fuzzy, energetic, whatever that is, that larger sense of the whole field. If you can touch into that and not be resistant to it, then a couple of questions can be useful for exploration. The first one I'll offer is, anything else want to show up right now? And another one is, what's being believed? As you explore this kind of investigation with what's happening in the present moment around this, notice if this investigation itself changes the experience at all. Just keep noticing how the mind and body are here and now. At this point, you can let go of the connection to the specific event. And this is another piece of reflection here. Let yourself reflect on how mindfulness might have supported you in this situation. How might a Dharma perspective have supported you? Perhaps consideration of ethics or understanding of impermanence, causes and conditions. As you bring in this reflection, what happens? Again, these reflections will have an effect on our system. So what happens as you bring in the Dharma reflections to this exploration? For the last few minutes of the sitting, just let go of the reflection entirely and just notice how you are right now. There may still be some resonance of the reflection. Just notice just this simple awareness of what's happening right now. Are you aware? What's obvious? Noticing the shift of attention from experience to experience, how experience changes. Are you aware? What is obvious?